Good are listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio, hosted by Steve Jenny and his satanic assistant, Alex Houdini, both of whom can't go into churches without vomiting.
That's right. How are you, Alex? How you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
It seems like it's been a lifetime ago since we were live.
It's only a week.
I know. But I mean, to be fair, this is the first time that we've been in our regular time slot.
That's right.
And broadcasting live on the New Visions Radio Network.
Yeah.
So this is I don't want to say technically the first show of season 16, but it's the third show, but the first broadcasted live on New Visions. So for those of you who are listening on the New Visions Radio Network, how you guys doing? I hope you're all doing well. Tonight we've got a really good show. We've got our really good friend returning. We've had Pat Fitzhugh on several times, and it's always a blast having Pat on.
Yeah.
You know,
well, he's a NFR pro.
Yeah. He's a mainstay. He's like he's up for the weekend, and you know we're just going to talk all the stuff about the paranormal, right?
Yep. That's it.
And those of you who may not know who Pat Fitzhugh is, he is the author of several books on the Bell Witch. He's a Bell Witch historian. He's an investigator, musician, multifaceted, and you know what? Very knowledgeable. And well, hey, let's not waste any time. Let's bring Pat in.
Let's
here.
bring him in.
I mean, come on, let's bring Pat. How are you?
Why, hey, Steve and Alex, I am doing just great. How are you all doing? Long time no see.
I know it's been, as we were saying backstage, it's been close to 3 years, if not, since COVID, since the lockdowns.
Yeah.
God. I mean, I don't know. Did you guys? I don't know. You guys didn't really have lockdowns down there, did you?
Well, it was more of an urging than a mandate. Some businesses had mandates, and local governments had mandates, but it wasn't to the point where nobody could go out and do absolutely anything. So yeah, it was pretty treacherous, but it could have been a lot worse too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here it was. You go out, do your business, and that was it. I mean, they're pretty strict up here.
Yeah, they were.
They were overly strict up here, but I don't know. Oh well, that's over and done with it. But anyhow, so what's new? How you doing there, Pat? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good. Doing just fine. I think I've survived all the heat we've had here in Tennessee. I mean, it's been a scorcher, but a little better than the last couple of years. But now it's starting to get cooler, and feels a little easier, a little better to get out and have more fun instead of just pouring with sweat all the time and everything.
I mean, I was down there in July. Unfortunately, I wasn't unable to hook up with you this time, but we're looking to go back down again next year. So, I mean, the possibility will open, because I would really like that. I would really like to get up to Adams to see the homestead.
Yeah, it's an amazing place up there at Adams. Nearly everybody who goes up there, comes back and, says even if they didn't have any direct encounter with anything, that the most odd, dark feeling fell upon them there in Adams. It's a unique place, and there's a lot more to the place than just the Bell Witch. There was the tobacco night riders situation. There were some a little bit of civil war skirmish, and Trail of Tears went not too far from there, over there near Port Royal, which is only a few miles away. So there's a lot of history in that area, and not all of it's good. It makes for an interesting trip.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the points of interest that I was hoping to finally see, but and if I was able to do it, I was going to say, "Hey, Pat, what are you up to? Are you close by? Let's hook up." But next time for sure. I definitely look forward to doing that. And
Yeah.
so okay, so just a brief scenario on the Bell Witch, just a brief one, because there might be somebody who's watching or listening that they've never heard of the Bell Witch. I mean, most people know about the Bell Witch, but just a brief scenario situation on the Bell Witch.
Okay, the Bell Witch in brief.
In brief,
Like,
I know it's probably a hard one.
no, that wasn't political correct. That didn't come out right. You say Bell Witch and you say brief. I mean, that's like an oxymoron statement. It's one
Yeah,
of the most complicated cases out there.
yeah.
But to be brief, the legend of the so-called Bell Witch was the story of a family on Tennessee's early frontier who settled along the Red River in Middle Tennessee, who experienced this unexplainable and often malevolent and torturous set of events or series of events from a force that they could neither see nor understand. These events began with, very small signs, like maybe scratches on the wall or maybe a knock on the wall here or there, and then grew into more louder, more violent things like bricks being thrown against the roof of the house, sound of chains being dragged across the floor, and so on. And then as the family tried to learn more and more about what this visitor was, and word got out about it, despite the fact that the father swore the family to secrecy, the thing seemed to grow and become more strong, stronger, like in terms of the frequency of demonstrations as well as the intensity. And it eventually developed a whisper. It was not discernible at first, but after a while it grew full circle into a full voice that was understandable. And it would quote scripture. It would talk horribly about people. There were a couple of people it was nice, talk nice about, but mainly didn't have anything really good to say, and was always stirring up some mischief of its own. So this lasted for a period of 4 years and culminated with the death of John Bell, which the entity, sometimes known as Kate, named after Kate Batts, but we can get to that part here later, took responsibility for John Bell's death and said that she'd given him a dose of a liquid the night before, which fixed him. So that is the main part of the, we'll call it the traditional Tennessee legend of the Bell Witch.
Awesome. Thanks. I know it's difficult to sort of briefly go over such an extensive extensive story and legend. I know
It's almost like doing Cole's notes for like the Encyclopedia Britannica or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But it's such a unique case. And like I said, you know what, we've mentioned it a few times, obviously, with the case that it's what the only case where a human was our ghost or spirit or whatever it was at fault for the death of a human being.
Yeah, the legend does have that distinction, all right. According to it, this thing, had a strong hatred toward Mr. John Bell, the family patriarch, for a long time, and would talk badly about him, threaten him, physically abuse him. And on one of the occasions when asked who it was and what it wanted, it said that it was old Kate Batts's witch. and that it was there to kill old John Bell, or old Jack Bell, as this thing like to call him.
Jack. Oh, okay. So,
Old Jack Bell.
Old Jack Bell. So, okay,
Put under a spell. Oh, I just made that up. Never mind. I'm not a good poet.
You're a poet and don't even know it.
Right.
Yeah, it's Pat's new poems on the Bell Witch.
Yep.
So okay, you have some new scenarios or links and stuff that you'd like to discuss. Did you want to get into those?
Yeah, it is
Okay.
happening. It is happening. The Bell Witch is happening. The Bell Witch research is, going, full steam ahead. A couple of things I want to share tonight. The first thing I want to talk about, I'll tell you right off the bat, is not an actual theory. It doesn't prove or get to the bottom of or solve the case, but it's a very, very interesting twist in the folkloristic realm of the legend. Now, in order to do that, before I can go to this new finding or potential finding, I need to rewind and go back to the old for a little bit. So I'm going to do that. Now, we already talked about Miss Kate Batts. The original legend, the entity claimed to be Kate Batts, and because of the lady's reputation throughout the Red River community, a lot of people said, yeah, well, that makes sense because that lady's crazy or that lady's strange. And, some people even today think she was the culprit, even though research has shown no verifiable connection to the legend, other than the fact that her brother-in-law, Benjamin Batts, had a dispute with John Bell at some point. And then people got confused and started saying Kate Batts was the one that had the dispute. So that's Kate Batts. Now, what I want to do is rewind a little bit. We're going to go even older. We're going to rewind and we're going to set our sights to the north on Salem, Massachusetts, between February 1692 and May of 1693, where more than 200 people were accused of practicing witchcraft. 30 of those were found guilty. 19 of those were executed by hanging. That was 14 women and 5 men. Did you know that there were men involved in the Salem witch trial executions?
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people talk about it and they say that, all those executed were women, but there were actually 5 men. But yeah, it was mostly women. And out of this group that were found guilty, one person, his name was Giles Corey, he died from being tortured to death because he refused to plead his case. And I think about 5 or so of those persons died in jail. I wonder what from. Okay, so one family that really figured prominently into the Salem witch trials were the Proctors, John and Elizabeth Proctor. They, along with 2 sons, 1 daughter, and the sister of Elizabeth Proctor, were charged with witchcraft at Salem, all within that family. Fortunately, though, Elizabeth was spared due to her being pregnant at the time. And today there's a place up there called Proctor's Ledge Memorial. If you recall, if you read up much on it, they used to say that these executions took place atop Gallows Hill. Then later on, researchers, historians, and people started really digging deep into records and information and determined that it most likely happened on a little plateau and ledge that was not up at the summit of the hill, and that was called Proctor's Ledge. Whether that has to do with this Proctor family that I just talked about, don't know for sure, but I would highly suspect it. So that's one connection. So speaking of connections, I've been talking with genealogists working specifically with the Batts family and some with the Salem witch trial people that are researching that. And, we are within one person being able to connect the Proctor family to the Batts family.
Mhm.
Now, of course, the Bats family of Bell Witch notoriety is many generations after that, but we're within one person on that part. But wait, there's more. Another person whose name was found after some of the genealogy people did some research and compared notes with some of the Salem witch people. Another person by the name of John Jackson was accused of witchcraft in Salem, but was found not guilty. And we brought him all the way to the point of being related or an ancestor of Benjamin Batts.
Mm.
In fact, John Jackson and the Proctor family are also related several generations back, but also to Benjamin Batts. In fact, so close on that one, we even have the name, the Benjamin Batts, where he was born and everything. At that point, we're looking to see whether it's the same Benjamin Batts that was at Red River,
Yeah.
even though all indications at this point say it was. So again, that really gets us nowhere in solving the mystery. But it's what I would call a pretty interesting twist to the
It
folklore aspect. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it adds an interesting twist indeed. Now, okay, so outside the genealogical sort of aspect of it, what you yourself, I mean, what led you down that sort of, look at this could have a connection to the Salem witch trials. I mean, what led you down that way?
Somebody else. But I have had emails and questions, pretty frequently, asking about connections with
Mm,
the Salem witch trials, but mainly along the lines, of are we dealing with both things as being cases of mass hysteria or what?
mm,
That's usually the line that people will take with that, and I would have to address. Um, in this case was a little bit different. One person, actually two people came to me at two different times a few weeks apart, and one of them mentioned documentation. So
mhm,
that's the one that I actually responded to. Um, and, I said, well, yeah, if you have some documentation, please send it to me. So
mhm.
then they sent some documentation. At first it turned up empty. I wasn't able to see anything that meant anything to me, but then some other documentation was sent, and somebody else did. And it just started working from there.
Yeah, it's I mean, now we're including, not just the Bell Witch sort of scenario, but the Salem Witch. Oh my God,
No, I mean,
two,
that's one heck of a twist. And I mean, with as many people as you've got today writing Bell Witch books,
yeah.
starting to be Bell Witch lecturers and all that. I mean, there's new Bell Witch books, new lecturers,
But
everybody out every year. Somebody could take the whole Salem witch trial and Bell
mm,
Witch thing, and really run with it.
well,
Um,
yeah, but I mean, well, let me ask you that then. Let me, the difference now between, your work and your research. I mean, you're a Bell Witch historian, and you're having a lot of people coming out now and writing books. I mean, what do you see? What difference do you see between the research that you've come up with and written about over the years, as opposed to, some of these newer people that have sort of entered the Bell Witch realm and said, "Oh, well, look at," and I guess some of it could possibly be based on your work too, right?
yeah, back in the year 2000 was the very first edition of my book, The Big Book,
Mhm,
that contained a whole lot of information, historical information, a little bit of genealogy, but mainly historical information and other things surrounding the people and places of the case that
mhm.
had never, ever been published before in any commercially published book.
Yeah,
Now, that information has been out there since day one, or since whenever the events happened that created
yeah,
it. But as far as publication and mass distribution, that never happened until the Bell Witch, the full account. Pretty much every account of the Bell Witch that I see nowadays has that in it. All that has been added to the legend and made it a whole lot, I wouldn't say bigger, but maybe more in depth
Yeah.
or more beefier. There's more history and other information in there. Now, I'm not saying that all these new books and everything since then has copied from me, because I don't think that's
No,
the
no,
case.
no, no.
But I think, they got the information from somewhere, whether it's Wikipedia or wherever, who in turn got it from somebody else, who got it from somebody else, who eventually got it from the Bell Witch, the full account. Now, that's not the Bell Witch legend itself. The legend was around
No.
a long time before the book, before any book was ever published. That
Yeah.
legend was, but there was just an awful lot of history, a backstory, and everything added in the year 2000. As far as the newer works, I haven't, I've seen some interesting takes on it, some works that I would label more like fan fiction. But I really, I haven't seen anything in terms of theories that has not already been put forth and tested and debunked.
Yeah.
And in many cases, these are theories that were debunked and forgotten about like 20, 30, 40 years ago. So I'm not really seeing anything new. To be fair, though, I've seen a couple of things that came out as new, and they would be new, because they're first published, but they're theories that people have already worked on or have been working on and never put forward. So you've got that. But I think the biggest deal on the new Bell Witch stuff, I mean, because you've always got people writing a Bell Witch book. It's like eating a bowl of cornflakes every morning. But big thing, and hey, I'm going to write another one too. So there, you heard it first here. All the haters better look out and watch out, because this one's going to be a doozy, and we'll put everything I got into it. Okay, so back to the not reality. That was a reality. It is a reality, but the big thing with Bell Witch lately, podcasts. It's like everybody covers it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get Google alerts, and every time Bell Witch is mentioned, anything about Bell Witch, I get an alert about it and a link to it.
Yeah.
And I see all of these podcasts just over and over and over talking about the Bell Witch, and they all tell basically the same story. Which is not all. There are some podcasts that have actually done an excellent job of relating the legend of the Bell Witch and giving it the analysis that it deserves. But most tell or start to tell the old original story, get a few pieces confused here and there, get a bunch of historical facts wrong and all that. And that's not a bad thing in of itself. But where I have the problem is, unless you've researched and can verify things as being fact, don't get on the air and say this is a true story. Because once you say that, you've opened yourself up to criticism everywhere.
Yeah.
That's why when I talk about the Bell Witch, I don't ever say it's a true story. I say it is said to be true.
Said to be true, yes.
In other words, some people say it's true. I'm not saying it's true or false. So anyway, there's a huge quantity of information out there about the Bell Witch recently. It's not all worn out theories and bad stuff. There's some interesting, new perspectives. I've got one I'm coming out with. At some point. But every year, and especially around this time of year, everybody's talking Bell Witch. Everybody's going to Bell Witch events, and there is a heavy metal band, or I think they call it a death metal band called Bell Witch.
Yeah. It's funny. I saw that actually. I actually, it was a while ago. I noticed that. Yeah.
And they're pretty big, because like I say, I get Google alerts when the word Bell Witch is mentioned on the internet. And I mean, it's like every few months they go out on this big world tour. They've been all over the United States, over in Europe, and other places. And the band has a huge following.
Yeah, but, it's I actually I've sat down, and well, not sat down, but I've watched a couple of the videos they've had on YouTube. In fact, I've noticed that. That's it's interesting how it is how it's sort of, not leached, but sort of ingrained itself in popular history. It's it's more or less something that is more, I guess, blanketed towards, say Tennessee, the state of Tennessee and surrounding, because some of this stuff even goes back to even what Mississippi, right?
Yes, sir. Mississippi, northern
Yes,
Mississippi.
northern Mississippi has a little bit of a history with the Bell Witch scenario as well. I mean, what okay, let's go back. Let's rewind. What got you interested in this case in particular? I'm going to say because you grew up there, you heard the stories. What what moment said, "Look, I want to look more into this. I want to know more about this."
Well, that came from a sense of place. And by that, I mean, I'm originally from Nashville, which is
Okay.
50 miles from Adams, Tennessee, which is
Mhm.
where this legend began. It's a very huge part of the area. There's a lot of local celebration and appreciation and pride in their local Bell Witch folklore there,
Yeah.
and has of course emanated, spread out to other areas as well.
Mhm.
My mother was from Robertson County. She spent a few early years of her life right there in Cedar Hill, which is almost at ground zero. And then later on in her childhood, she went to a place called Coopertown, which was also in the general area, but not near ground zero.
Yeah.
So she would tell me stories at night, just do all kinds of things to try to get me to go to sleep because I never could go to sleep when I was a kid. I mean, eventually I did, but never. It was never when my parents wanted me to go to sleep. And one night she started talking about this thing that they called the Bell Witch. And not long after that, I was kind of interested. She got a book called The Bell Witch at Adams. It was what I would classify as a children's book
Yeah.
about the Bell Witch. It was written by a lady named Gladys Barr, who I believe was a school teacher. And I became interested and asked her some questions. And then she started naming off all these people that she had attended school with and knew who were descendants of different people mentioned in the Bell Witch legend.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm like, Mommy, do you mean that this is true? She's like, I don't know if it's true. All I know is they had a daughter who was supposedly kind of mean, and I think they gave her the nickname of the Bell Witch. That was my mother's explanation, and she was talking about Betsy Bell.
Yeah.
Well, she explained that she didn't know if there's really any old spook or whatever you want to call it up there
Yeah.
ever,
Mhm.
but there was always that story, and that it did involve people who were uh, like great 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 grandparents of people that she had known when she lived there.
Yeah.
So the fact that she said that those people existed, that's what really piqued my interest because, so many different stories, even children's ghost stories and Halloween stories and all that. You always hear later or from somebody, oh, this isn't true. It's just a made up story.
Mm.
Make sure to keep your heads under the cover. You know, that, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the fact that
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
real people and real places got me interested. But at the same time, I had a very inquiring mind, even as a kid.
Mhm.
So, I would ask her, but this is not true. How could it be true? If there's real people in real places, then why did the story get started if it wasn't true?
True,
And
yeah.
that is precisely the target of my research now and always has been, to get to the bottom of it, not to prove that it happened or that it didn't happen or that it was
Mhm.
paranormal or some idiot was outside making noises. I don't know. My focus is just get to the bottom of it, no matter what it is, and say, hey, here it is.
Do
So,
you do you
but yeah, my
do you
mother
think
telling me those early stories was the big thing.
do you think it'll ever be solved?
Yeah.
You think so?
Well, let me back up. Let's do that rewind thing again. Why don't we? In terms of proof as evidenced by universal acceptance, absolutely not. It will never be proven.
Mhm.
But what constitutes proof? For all I know, somebody could have already proved it and solved it,
Yeah.
but we wouldn't
Mhm.
know because it's not universally accepted. Any
Yeah.
theory that anybody puts out there is going to draw its share of fans and critics alike. So then that leaves a question, I mean, people were wrong before. I mean, they thought the world was flat and all those ships over in England would go off the side of the world at one time until they
Yeah.
finally made it over to America. Uh, you know, so, with the Bell Witch, how do we, how are we going to say what is proof and what's not? Obviously, the court of public opinion is not very reliable.
Mhm.
I don't think we can, unless we go with a little bit different standard of proof. And keep in mind, everybody has a different standard of proof, it seems. There is such a thing as proof by preponderance of the evidence.
Mhm.
That is where you cannot absolutely prove something, but you take everything that is available that you've got and verify it. And it suggests that there's a 99.9% chance that that is or was the cause of it. In other words, a theory without 100% proof, but all evidence that has been verified and documented is in its favor. It's called a preponderance of the evidence. And even then, somebody could prove it, but, the court of public opinion is going to say, oh, no, that's not true. My mother told me this, my grandfather told me that, or, there's a lot of stories that evolved from such folklore, and those stories spread out across people, then over generations. And, there's just an awful lot of theories and beliefs out there. And what people need to understand, especially people like me, is that people will only believe what they want to believe.
Mm. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So, I want to get into, your, not only, we've talked about your research and the books that you've written, but I mean, investigating the claims too. I mean, what has been the extent of your investigations into some of these areas, like perhaps the homestead, the cabin, and the cave, and all the different sort of areas that are clumped into the scenario, to the legend.
Okay, fair question. With regards to investigation, um, let's see here. The only actual investigation that I've done or been allowed to do anywhere up there was of a cabin that they call the Bell Log Cabin. That cabin
Okay.
now sits outside a schoolhouse there along Highway 41 in Adams. It was
Hmm.
moved back, I think, around 1984 or so, and is owned by the Tennessee Kentucky Threshermen's Association. That house was a small outbuilding on the John Bell farm. Tennessee Historical Commission did some research on that, and they
Yeah.
found that, based on its age and construction materials and everything, that it definitely dates back actually to a time before the Bell family even moved
Oh,
there.
wow. Okay.
Now, keep in mind, this was just a small outbuilding, not the actual Bell home.
Yeah.
We do know that the Bell home was razed, torn down eventually, and it is thought because this cabin received a chimney extension sometime in the 1850s that some of the stones from the Bell home might even be part of that chimney, or at least the second
Oh,
half of it.
wow. Okay.
So this investigation that occurred was, I can't remember the year, but actually, let's take that back. I investigated it twice.
Okay.
I'll give my public thank you to the Tennessee Kentucky Threshermen's Association and to the late Emerson Meggs, rest in peace, for having the trust and faith in me and not being afraid to allow me to perform a simple investigation, which is almost impossible to do anywhere around Adams. More on that later too. Maybe not on this particular episode, but it'll come out. So the answer to this is one of the investigations. Everything got very quiet in the Bell house, or cabin, which we made it that way. There was a little bit of knocking. We went outside. We did not find anything or anyone. Two of the people with us had EMF. One had a regular basic EMF meter. One had a tri-field, with a triple axis EMF field. They went pretty good distance away from the cabin, walked around it, couldn't find anything, but then went farther down over into an area near a baseball park, and the meters went crazy, but then they stopped. And they would say stuff like, Kate, is that you? Or is there evidence of the Bell Witch? And the things would go off again. Now, at first, a ballpark, obviously they have electricity, they have a PA system, have all kinds of stuff. So, that would trip off an EMF meter, especially a tri-field. So, what I found interesting there was that these things would only respond with communications. Then later on, back at this place at the Bell cabin up there, an old black dog showed up. And I'm pretty sure that black dog was somebody's old hound dog that probably lived up the street or up the road that wandered around. And I've had some tell me that there used to be an old stray black dog that hung around. But that dog came up and would not leave. And, we weren't feeding him. I mean, we were being nice to him, but he would not leave. He would come up, hang around, and, I guess he was lonely, so we paid him a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Then we would be talking about different things. We start talking about the Bell family, and it's like he would, what's the word? Kind of like spook. He would just we'd talk about anything about John Bell or Bell Witch or haunting or anything. He would kind of just like shake like he's in shock for a second and kind of back up, like a dog would do if you like tried to throw something at it. But yeah, we weren't doing anything like that. We were just sitting there talking. So, I thought that was odd, especially because in the Bell Witch legend, it is said that this thing came in the form of a black dog to one of the Bell family slaves. And also in the case where the entity was speaking with different voices, one of those voices referred to itself as Black Dog.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, if you go back into folklore history, you'll know that the black dog was a very prominent symbol in folklore, especially British, years before the first commercially published Bell Witch book was written. So, we get to the black dog thing. And then another thing that I will mention, it was not paranormal, but it was a heck of a lot of fun. I had some guests with me that night. One of them, you may have heard of him. His name was Bob Welch. If you've ever heard of Fleetwood Mac, he was their guitar player for a long time, and he did some singing with them. Did a solo career. He had a couple of big hits in his solo career. Bob and his wife were up there with us that night. And I had forgot to tell them that chimney there in the Bell Log cabin had an issue with birds. I think pigeons, or maybe been something else, some kind of birds up in there, where every now and then everything would be quiet, and all of a sudden you'd hear this just god-awful sound coming from the chimney. You would think the Bell Witch and 10 aliens and 7 white horses were coming down the chimney to get you.
That's an active chimney.
Yeah.
Yeah, very active chimney. Unfortunately, I forgot to let them know that, which is bad because one of my duties as a professional paranormal investigator is to advise my clients and people I'm with of anything I know of that could masquerade as paranormal, but which does
Yeah.
not have a paranormal origin. So I failed in that regard. And in the middle of the night, we were up there at the table, not saying a word. We're just sitting there really quiet to see what we could pick up. And all of a sudden we heard this coming up the chimney. And, a couple of people sat there who didn't know about it. Their eyes were just as big as could be. Bob and his wife shot up out of these two rocking chairs in there and flew out the front door. And, oh my God, what's that? And came from the chimney. And Bob's wife, she was a lot of fun. She was a hoot to be around with. Very smart lady. She said, it's coming from the chimney. That came from that chimney, and whatever is in that chimney, I'm going to get it out. So she went from in front of the bell log cabin around to the side and climbed all the way up that chimney trying to find what it was. Yeah, it was one heck of an event, If I weren't going to write, go ahead.
So did she find them?
No, I think we talked her down right before she got to the very top, or I think I finally, after I stopped laughing and had to try to control myself, keep from peeing on myself. I was laughing so hard that I said pigeons. So I think we took care of that. But yeah, interesting stuff. If I weren't going, or I hadn't already committed to another Bell Witch book to put forth a final theory, I may very well write a Bell Witch book detailing all of my experiences and escapades and this, that, and the other of being a Bell Witch researcher for the last 45 years. Who knows? May do both. But at any rate, the second time I investigated with the Bell Log Cabin was part of a Bell Witch related festival that was going on there in Adams. It was called Cape Fest. It was a one-time deal that was put on there in Adams. There's actually a Cape Fest version 2 going on this year, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Not in Adams, but another location. Yeah. So with this Cape Fest investigation, I had quite a few guests there, a special guest, a couple of people. There was Chris Stevens, who was an investigator and executive producer, I think, for MTV's Fear TV show. Also, I had Kalila Smith of Haunted History Tours and a lot of other stuff down in New Orleans, and she was actually a voodoo priestess as well. I had all those people up there. And Chris Stevens led a paranormal investigation in and around the Bell Log Cabin. And she ran into all kinds of things with some EMF meters. There was also a REM pod put out in the parking lot that was going crazy. They later brought that to a field off the side of the cabin and also had results there, but yet no EMF meters would pick anything up at the same time the REM pod was going off, which is strange because they're two separate animals, but the underlying technological references and reference points are the same. Yeah. So, we have that, or trigger points. So, we had that going on. But then the big thing is Chris decided to try some automatic writing, if you're familiar with that. Okay.
Yeah.
She felt some messages or something, some messages were coming through. So she just started writing what she felt. And she kept getting messages from somebody. The name was Robert. The last name had an M-A-N in it. They lived on property nearby that was once the Bell property. And the writing, after this much was gleaned from what was going on, the writing kept saying over and over, water, drowning, drowning, drowning. So that was interesting. Definitely, I wouldn't think Bell Witch, but somebody in the water drowning, maybe a Robert or something. But years later, after Chris actually wrote a book about this, years later, I found out there was a drowning in that area, or there had been, like in the 1960s or early 1970s. And either the Robert name or the name with an M-A-N or M-E-N in it was connected with that, where somebody had actually drowned. So
Oh
that was
wow.
interesting. Never
Yeah.
dull moment at the Bell Cabin. Oh, and I'll tell you another one. There was also a goofy highlight from this one. Not Bell Witch, and I don't know what you would call this, man. This investigation that Chris did, several of us were in there. It was an all-nighter.
Yeah.
In the late afternoon, right beforehand, one of the last participants to get there, this guy pulled up, a young guy, probably in his early 20s, long brownish hair, a beard, pulled up in I think it was a Volkswagen, like something you'd see out of the Beatles or the 1960s or so, pulls up in
Yeah.
there. Not him, but the whole Volkswagen and beard
Yeah.
thing and the hairstyle
Yeah.
and all that, And he comes up there, gets his stuff, goes into the cabin, plonks down in one of those old rockers and just sits there and just kind of keeps to himself and relaxes. And then he falls asleep. And he stays asleep and he sleeps and he sleeps and he sleeps. Finally, sometime at the middle of the night, I go out to the back and I think we go out there. We bring maybe some dowsing rods and I think an EMF meter with a plug into a tool called an oscilloscope that we had running off of an AC inverter. And we were looking at all kinds of crap, trying to see what was going on. And I finally got really tired, and I'd been working this festival nonstop for like a day and a half. So I laid down. A couple other people did there on the back porch of this Bell log cabin.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of a sudden, we hear this noise, like that. And this guy with a beard who had been asleep the whole time comes bursting through that back door. He turns around, and he is throwing up. He is vomiting all over the place, gets it all over one or two other people, vomits all over me and everything, then screams, runs back through the Bell cabin, doesn't even grab his belongings, jumps in that Volkswagen and hightails it out of there like he's at the Daytona 500. I don't know if the Bell Witch got into him, if Kate Batts got into him, if some ugly black dog got into him or what, but that guy was absolutely booking. And the biggest part of this is I could not find or could not reconcile his spot in the investigation on our guest register and roster.
I was just going to ask you that. Did you find out who this guy was?
He was not a registered guest, but yet when we did the head count off on the roster, he was there and we did, but yet there was nothing in the guest roster to do that. So I don't know. Maybe he thought I was going to find out that maybe he wasn't a registered guest and what was going to happen to him if I found out. Maybe that's what made him run. But I mean, we thought, he was a registered guest.
But I mean, all he was doing was just
Do what?
sleeping, though. All he was doing
there
was just sleeping anyways.
He was sleeping, minding his own business. I think he had even brought him some snacks and stuff. Yeah, because after he left, we actually ate his snacks for breakfast because we were all hungry and there wasn't like fast food open. But yeah, this was incredible. And Chris wrote about that in her book too. There's just been a lot of amazing things happen up there. But never hurts to throw a little humor in there every now and then.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to have a little bit of humor. I mean, it's, when I think about investigating and everyone thinks it's all just like, let's get down to business trying to figure out. But there's always that humorous moment. Always.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are
especially when I'm around.
Investigations. Yeah. There are scientific investigations. There are fun investigations. And no matter what kind of investigation, expect the unexpected. And no matter how much you expect the unexpected, whenever something hits you, it's going to be even more unexpected than what you expected to be unexpected, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So has that particular location been investigated outside you? Like, I mean, have people been able to get in to do a thorough investigation of these places?
Yeah. If you're talking on the Bell Cabin, there was a group a few years back, I think, that went in and did some stuff. I never heard how that turned out, and I can't even remember who it was. But some people went in there, and I think they were going to televise it or something. Don't know how that went. Then another group came in, I think, sometime after that, and I'm not sure what happened, but my understanding was that, it was basically like, just, a TV show wannabe, threatening the spirits, talking ugly. And one of the Bell descendants was there, and he wasn't very happy, and he left. And it apparently turned out to be a complete disaster, because I haven't heard of anybody else, being allowed in there. And, like I say, it's not easy to be allowed to investigate anything up there on those Bell school grounds, and,
Yeah.
I wish there's things I could say or do, to help that situation, but it's just pretty much impossible to get anything going, especially if you're known as a researcher. For some reason,
Oh,
they don't
really?
trust us. They're scared we're going to spill the wrong beans or something, and they're just, nobody up there likes the idea of us investigating anything up there, or at least on, I'm talking about like the school ground, anything happening up there
Yeah.
on, the school grounds and the
Yeah.
park section.
So what about the Bell Witch Cave then?
Sorry, I had to block it. I told somebody they were going to be on camera, and they walked right behind me anyway.
Oh,
Okay, so what was the
okay.
question? Sorry, what was the question?
The Bell. How about the Bell Witch Cave then?
Bell Witch Cave has always been a spot for, strange and anomalous activity. It was, mentioned in the Bell Witch legend. People come in there, take their tours, look around, and, sometimes decide to take a rock or some souvenir with them. And then at some point later, the owners hear from those people, and, they're either emailing them, telling them about it, bad luck happening, or they're bringing the rocks back, because they take these rocks from the cave, and then something bad happens. I heard something about a year ago. I think a lady had taken a rock or something else from the cave,
Yeah.
and just a very, very short time later ended up with a broken leg.
Oh, wow.
So, you have that, but that's only one part of the Bell Witch Cave. I mean, people take photos there all the time, and, surprisingly a good number of those turn out to be anomalous. And it's not, something simple like a double exposure or a mist orb or a dust orb, but, something really bizarre. So, there's that. People have a lot of, strange feelings around there. And in addition to the cave, even on that property, they have up there, it's a cabin, it's a replica cabin, has some Bell Witch related old newspaper articles, research items and stuff in it. And it's up there where you go, sign up, get your tickets to go into the cave. And people have reported phenomenon up there too. In fact, recently I saw a picture. It was posted several places online where somebody went up there and took a picture, and it looked like there was somebody or face or something there standing in the door of that place. And I'm talking about the Bell Witch replica cabin. And that is up there, right above the Bell Witch Cave, and is definitely on the Bell Witch Cave property.
Wow, that's intriguing. We're going to take a halfway break here. But when we come back, I'd like to, talk a little bit more about the cave and, of course, what you have coming up. And plus, you wanted to share some more stuff as well, and more. So, for those of you listening on the New Visions Radio Network, thanks for tuning in, and of course, watching us here on YouTube and Twitch. We're here with Pat Fitzhugh, talking about the Bell Witch and more. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Right after these intense moments. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Richard Palmisano, the founder of the Searcher Group. It's a paranormal company, the oldest in Canada. I founded it in 1979, which not only makes me old, but makes me doing paranormal research and field work for just under 45 years now. I am also an author, researcher, and lecturer on the paranormal. I've written 6 books now. And I really enjoy coming on with Steve and Alex on Nocturnal Frequency Radio, as well as listening to the shows, because there's a lot of interesting guests there. I like it, looking at this stuff, because it opens your mind to other options and other alternative thoughts. There's always time to learn new things. So I hope you join us and come and see Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Thank you.
So let me ask you, what makes for good radio?
My 5 favorite songs all day long.
Play it again.
No.
As many commercials as physically possible.
What? No, why would that be good?
Great music, great talk shows, no commercials.
Precisely. New Visions Radio gives you no commercials, no nonsense, just the best new music and the best talk all day long, 24/7, 365. NewVisionsRadio.com.
Hey guys, Kristen here, host of the Paranormal Girl podcast, a bingeable exploration and deep dive education about the paranormal for the skeptical believer. Some of my past season topics have included shadow people, Mandela effect, demons, and UFOs. Currently, I am tackling Bigfoot. I have been sharing this journey with my audience since early 2021, and I have learned a lot these last few years. It's truly a mysterious world out there beyond our perceptions, and reality is just not what it seems. I have also, since the start, met some awesome folks like Alex and Steve, and I've really enjoyed watching and learning from them and also joining them on their show. Their guests are always outstanding. Their listeners are just the coolest, and these hosts are some of my favorite people. I recommend their show to anyone looking for an intelligent and fun conversation about the paranormal amongst friends. So join me on my investigation, join Steve and Alex on theirs, and enjoy. Now back to the show. You are watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio.
And welcome back, Pat. Thanks again for joining us this evening. Can you hear us okay?
Well, time flies when you're having fun. I can't believe we've already been through 1 hour. This is great. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it just flies by. Especially when Alex is he's just so intense.
You know what? If I were any more intense, I think people would just like break down in tears.
So Pat, what's your like your favorite aspect of the Bell Witch legend? What's your favorite aspect?
My favorite aspect is the research and detective work, of course. Another aspect that I do that's also my favorite, or one of my favorite, let's just say I have co-favorites. Of course, I wear two hats. One is that of a researcher and detective looking to find what actually happened or didn't happen to cause this epic tale of terror on Tennessee's early frontier to happen to begin with and to grow so much. But my other hat is I'm a storyteller. Just as much as I research the legend of the Bell Witch, I also tell the legend, meaning that I'm not going down a bunch of scientific paths and trying to go through a bunch of boring research notes, but simply tell the original well-known version of the Bell Witch legend in my own words. And occasionally I will inject a little bit from my research into certain parts of it because I know I'm going to be asked that at the conclusion of my story.
And I mean, you've had I was watching doing a little bit of research on we lost Pat. Where did Pat go?
Maybe
We lost
his tablet
him.
ran out of juice.
Could have possibly been. But I was just gonna say I was watching several examples of Pat being on the news, being a part of, especially during the Halloween season, right? I think we have Pat back. There we go. Oh, your mic. Wow, holy
You
moly.
can't speak. Your mic is muted.
Yeah, your mic is muted. No, still muted.
There we go.
How about now?
There we go.
What happened?
Right.
Did we get zapped out by the Bell Witch?
I think we did.
Could possibly have been. Are you sure you're not at the Bell Witch homestead?
No, it had to do with my intensity. Come on.
Yeah, Alex's intensity.
That's your intensity and Steve's magnetic personality. You put those together, and that's a disconnect right there.
I think magnets. It's a loose term.
Yeah. I was going to say one thing when I was down in Nashville, one thing that I grew fond of, and I'm sure you're quite familiar with, Pat, is a little snack called Goo Goo.
Oh yeah. You're talking about the little chocolate candy thing with the marshmallow and chocolate peanuts. And they say, go to Goo Goo. It's good.
Yeah. Those things are
Yeah,
addictive. Addictive. Not to mention the barbecue. Oh my god, the barbecue is amazing.
we have some
Um,
wonderful around here.
oh
Really great
yeah,
barbecue. That's one of my favorite foods. And I
yeah.
haven't latched on to Goo Goo in a while, but I mean, you get me a Goo Goo and an RC Cola, and man, that's about as Nashville as you can get.
I can't really. I couldn't tell you the last time I had an RC cola because they. I don't even think they have it up here anymore.
No,
I don't
I
even think
haven't
RC
seen
colas.
RC Cola
Yeah,
appear in ages.
yeah, in
Yeah,
ages.
they have it here. In fact, you can, if you want to spend $8, you can buy a 12 pack. So no, thank you.
I know it's
Mm.
expensive. It's just amazing the prices now, but yeah. Oh man,
And the ironic part is that RC Cola was supposed to be the affordable brand.
well,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah,
exactly.
and like McDonald's, with their little dollar menu and everything, and how it's, cheap fast food and everything. Hell, heck, I could take one person and myself just to get a very simple burger and fry
20
lunch at
bucks.
McDonald's, and it's almost impossible to get away from that place for less than $15.
Yep.
Yeah,
You know, it's,
we stopped in a McDonald's on the way down there. I think we were in just outside Louisville, uh, heading down that way, and we stopped in to grab some gas, and we saw the McDonald's. We popped into the McDonald's, and it was like, I think it was like 18.99, something like that, American. And if anybody
yeah.
knows anything about the fucking exchange, it's just
So
oh my god,
in other words, about close to $30.
no, not that bad,
I
but
know.
it's
I'm
still,
exaggerating, but
but
still.
18.99 for a combo. Wow, Big Mac,
Oh,
insane.
you know, but I will avoid a McDonald's in Louisville, Kentucky at all cost. Nothing against
Wow,
Louisville, but I was there years ago, or
yeah,
at some point, one of the times I was speaking at Keith Age's Mid South Paranormal Convention.
yeah.
I was, I think it was like on the second day of the show, and I was on the way from my hotel to the venue to get started. I swung through a McDonald's, grabbed a couple little things, to eat on the way, and I'd paid cash, and my change, and which was also written on the receipt, was 666. Because I've still got a picture of that somewhere. So I don't know if
That's
that was an
hilarious.
omen or or what, or a sign of high
I
prices to come years later.
I remember being in Louisville, Kentucky, and on the, we had just finished doing Waverly Hills, and
Yeah,
the next morning, we went back to the hotel, and slept it off, and then uh we went back the next day, but I couldn't. It was hilarious because we had rented a minivan to go down there, and the I guess the
Border
navigator
security?
on it.
Oh,
No, the navigator on it was telling us to, how to get on the Dixie
yeah.
highway there, and I'm like, okay, wait a sec here. I don't know what the problem was, but it wasn't telling us the right way to go. It was telling us the long way to get onto it, and it was right there. It's like, how do you get on this thing, man? It was insane. We finally had to stop and ask somebody, but it was insane. I think we swung by the same area like 3 or 4 times before I said, I give up, man. I gotta ask somebody. It was
Well,
insane.
the Dixie Highway conspiracy.
Yeah,
There's a
exactly.
conspiracy going on there. You had that happen, and that McDonald's that gave me the big 666 was also a Dixie Highway.
Have you ever been into Waverly Hills Sanitarium?
Oh yeah,
Have you ever been there?
I have.
Yeah. What are your
Uh,
thoughts about that place?
it was an amazing place. I've been there maybe 2 times, 3 times, but not any time recently.
Mhm.
But I've been there. I've been in an investigation there. I've been on a couple of tours there. given by none other than Keith Age, who I feel knows that place
Yes.
just about as good as
Yeah.
anybody,
Oh
or
yeah.
better than anybody, I would say. And it's an amazing place. I think, as soon as I got there and just saw how huge and expansive the place was, the building just looming over the whole hillside,
Oh yeah.
especially at night, it was just intimidating. It felt intimidating. And then as you go from these different places, all the way from the morgue on the first floor, then you go up into the second, then you eventually get up, I think, into the solarium. Then you get the old library where we saw an apparition one time. As you go through each floor and down each wing, everything just comes full circle into one heck of a paranormal experience. And
I always called it the paranormal Disneyland.
That is great. That is great. that is great. The paranormal Disneyland. I'll have to think of something to call it too. Paranormal paradise. Well, I don't know. That's kind of oxymoron, but yeah, it is a mecca or plethora, whatever you want to call it there. There's just so much there. And, I was there when I was on that investigation that time. We traced down the smell of electrical wires burning and ended up right near an elevator, and there was a switch on the wall, where you would get some of the elevator. Of course, this was an old-fashioned elevator, old unused elevator shaft, and we smelled smoke, electrical wires. But yet there hadn't been an electricity in that building in 50 or 60 years?
Yeah.
Or at least maybe in that part.
Yeah.
And then
maybe there was a fire at that location, not in that specific area that was just sort of replaying.
I don't know the fire history of Waverly, but it sure smelled like wires burning, and we could even hear some kind of popping or sizzling sound in there. Like, were we in a time warp? Is there electricity now going through these wires, or what's going on? And we did have another funny experience. It's not just limited to the Bell Cabin and the Bell Witch, but also Waverly Hills. I was up there, and I cannot remember whether it was a tour Keith and I were on, or that he was doing, or whether it was part of the investigation. But I was in the room with a couple of people. It was the old operating room. It was above and off to the side of where the old cafeteria was.
Yeah.
And this was really late, and it was a little before sunup, I believe, and it was a real foggy morning. And anyway, all of a sudden we're standing in there, and the window is partially open to the operating room, and we start smelling fresh pastries and things being cooked, being baked. And we're, like 1 or 2 stories above the smokestacks in this old cafeteria kitchen that probably hadn't been used in 50 or 60 years. And all of a sudden we smell all this fresh Danish and stuff, man. That was crazy. But, I don't really
probably hungry as hell.
Oh yeah, it made us, I don't know, it kind of made me hungry
now just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Considering where we were and, the circumstances, I mean, do we need to put some cameras towards those windows down there to see if we see some ghosts down in there, baking up some things or what? Anyway, I don't think some of the other people liked it when I pointed out that the humidity was so high, and that there's probably been years and years of actual baked food residue been embedded into those old smokestacks, that the humidity, the warm weather, released some of that scent into the air. But anyway, that was my explanation for that. But it was pretty funny, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, there's ghosts cooking down there." But it was very interesting.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that, because I mean, when we were there, I think it was like August. It was August, and I believe it was probably at night. It was probably about 104 Fahrenheit.
Ooh.
It was so hot. It was so humid. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. I mean, we had a hard time lugging all the equipment up to well, we set up, I think it was the 4th floor. And so going up and down those stairs, man, it was pretty brutal. It was brutal. It really was.
Yeah, I think those stairs were probably designed for shorter people. At least that was
Yeah.
the feel I got on them. But I think in some cases, some of the stairs were starting to kind of give just a little bit, or some of the steps
Yeah.
were, and they were kind of, makes your climbing up and down the steps a little bit off the rhythm that your feet and legs are used to doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Sorry?
so it's a remarkable place.
Oh, it's incredible. One of these days I have to have both you and Keith on. Just to talk about stuff like that, I
Oh
think
yeah, we got a
both
lot
you.
to talk about. We can
Well,
go right
no,
on
I
with
know.
that.
I know. Well, I keep telling Keith he's got to come back on. We keep trying to set things up, but yeah, I'd love to have. I don't think we've ever had both of you guys on.
No, I
I-
don't think you have.
Maybe we should consider having both Pat and Keith on for our Halloween special.
Oh, well, that's if Pat's available.
Yeah.
That's if Pat's available.
When is your Halloween special? Is it on Halloween?
No, we haven't set it up yet. But hold on, let's see. Look,
It would have to be on the 29th, which is the Sunday,
Well,
just before Halloween.
hold on a sec. Let me just look at the calendar.
No,
Yeah,
the
the
28th.
20.
Go ahead.
The 20. Yeah, the 29th would be our Halloween special.
Let's see here. 29th. What time? Is the same time as usual?
9 to 11. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to see. I'll be on the way home from Arkansas Paranormal Convention or Paranormal Expo. But usually I get in around 8ish or 9ish. I may be able to work something out. Shouldn't be a problem, and I definitely don't want to miss it. I'll probably be tired and worn out, but I'll be in a good paranormal spirit, paranormal mode, be able to talk a lot about
I
it and
mean,
everything.
I think there was a couple. Well, there was a couple years. I think couple years in a row you joined us for the Halloween.
Yeah, we've done that. We've talked
Yeah,
about
a couple times.
Halloween traditions and origins of these different traditions.
Yeah.
Everything is always a lot of fun. It's my favorite time of year. What's yours?
Oh, mine too. Oh, hey,
hands down.
Pat, come
Yeah.
on.
Oh, yours is Halloween as well. I know.
Hands down. I thankfully, this year I got four weeks off. I've got pretty much all of October booked off, except for 1 week, and I'm just gonna get right into the essence of things. Definitely, I love Halloween. I love the fall. I love autumn. I especially up here, but like I don't know how does it get down there in Tennessee in terms of the fall? Do things change much like a lot of, say, the Northeast does?
Yeah, we're just behind them. By several weeks to maybe a
Yeah.
month or so.
Yeah.
The leaves don't really start to change color until probably a little bit before Halloween time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, they've already started to change color, but I mean, there's nothing, really noticeable that really stands out just yet.
Yeah.
But
So
the temperatures are already a lot better, cooler.
yeah, cooler. So I mean, is there something that you like to do or in and around Halloween that you traditionally do?
Oh, I usually just sit at home. Usually on Halloween, I'm involved in usually paranormal radio interviews or maybe
Yeah.
a lecture book signing event or something like that somewhere. So, I mean, we decorate around here and have
Yeah. Oh, I do too.
have
So
all the little smelly things and everything. The house smells like pumpkin spice and fall and witch hazel and all this other good stuff. Um,
nice.
which that combined with the cooler weather and everything, and really brings me into the spirit.
I imagine you probably get a lot of requests in and around Halloween from local news channels, because I actually seen a couple interviews you did on news channels and stuff like that about the Bell Witch and in and around Halloween, right? You probably get quite a lot of requests.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of that goes on, especially right at Halloween time. Um, it has been really down the last couple of years, but
Yeah.
this whole thing, interest in the Bell Witch, it peaks every 5 years. Then it starts going down, then it peaks 5 more years. So, we just went through a peak like 2 or 3 years ago. So, it'll be on back burner for a lot of people for the next couple of years, then it'll pick back up. But yeah, the news organizations usually want to do a little thing on the Bell Witch. Local civic organizations like
Yeah.
Rotary clubs and stuff like that, and none, a lot of times, the key to getting that done and doing it successful is plan it early. You
Yeah. Yeah.
know, a lot of those I have to turn down simply because, somebody waited till the very last minute, hey, we're doing a thing on the Bell Witch in 30 minutes. Can you get down here? I'm like, I'll be lucky to even be able to get out of the parking lot in 30 minutes, much less of your show.
Exactly.
But it's
speaking of
it's a lot of
Halloween,
fun. What was that?
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Pat.
No, I was just saying it's a lot of fun, and the most fun part about it for me is that since these are all local, these are people. A lot of these people have heard stories of the Bell Witch and other local hauntings all their lives, and they will a lot of times bring up these most obscure facets or aspects of the Bell Witch legend. Things that aren't really talked about or have never been talked about much, but yet they bring them up and know so much about them. And then
Mhm.
you answer the question and you end up in a good conversation with these people, especially the old
Yeah.
time.
Well, that's what I mean. There's nothing like to me this time of the year. There's nothing like being in that environment where somebody, especially, has a ton of like stories that you've never heard before, and you could be sitting on a porch, or sitting around a campfire or whatever, whatever, and just listening to the stories, man. I mean, some of these stories are so fascinating because you've never heard them before.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially down there's probably so many local myths and legends that just, oh man, I love that. I think that's just the best time to hear them and listen to them, right?
Oh, yeah. This part of the country is conducive to haunts and legends and uh, all sorts of folklore. And, you know, no matter how many times you do it, no matter how many of these stories you hear or how differently they're told, it never gets old. It's like each campfire or each hangout is like the first, a brand new one. And it just doesn't get old. You don't get sick of it. You love it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
It becomes a part of you, especially if you're around here for very long and you get involved in like paranormal, folklore, and folktales and legends. I mean, it is essentially part of your being.
Exactly. So what do you got coming up? I mean, I know you've got a few things that you got coming up, some appearances and conventions and stuff like that. Did you want to get into those?
Sure, why not? Okay. I think we talked a little bit earlier, and I mentioned there was a festival, Bell Witch related festival called Kate Fest up in Adams, Tennessee, and also
Hmm.
in northern Mississippi back many years ago. I think it was maybe 2002. There is a successor festival now to that, but it's not called Kate Fest. It's called Haints and Heroes. And this year will be the first annual Haints and Heroes Festival, which celebrates North Mississippi culture and folklore. It'll be held in Water Valley, Mississippi, not far from where Betsy Bell and some other Bell family members settled after leaving Middle Tennessee. And it'll be the weekend of October 21st. It will actually start on the 20th. And I will be giving the keynote speech presentation on that night, Friday, October the 20th at 7 p.m. at a place called the 10 on Main Street there in Water Valley, Mississippi. And we'll also have a meet and greet and book signing afterwards. Then I will have to either hop into my car or a plane or something and get back to Nashville the very first thing the next morning. The very next morning, October 21st, and all day that day, is the Tennessee Haunts and Legends Expo. It happened last year. That was their first annual, and I think they called it the Paws and Claws Paracon or something like that. But it was a great success for a first-year Paracon. They knew just what to do and how to do it. Couldn't ask for better. So they're back this year, and they've graduated to the Nashville Fairgrounds. So Tennessee Haunts and Legends Expo with several speakers, probably, 7 or 8 speakers or so, about 80 vendors, all on Saturday, October 21st at the Nashville Fairgrounds Event Center. I'll be there for most of the day doing a perpetual meet and greet, book signing, and then my lecture will be around the end of the day, which will be late that afternoon, right before the Paranormal Investigator Roundtable. For more information on that, you need to go look for Tennessee Haunts and Legends Expo on Facebook, or look up their website and it'll give you all the particulars. There is a small admission fee. Most of the proceeds do go to charity, and there's also a parking fee, and I don't think that goes to charity. Good old city of Nashville. Also, I mentioned a Haints and Heroes Festival. You can go to haintsandheroes.com and get more information on that festival. It's not just going to be me talking about Betsy Bell and her life, but they're going to talk about Northern Mississippi blues, gospel, the story of Casey Jones, and after hours paranormal investigation, all kinds of stuff. So there's that. And then to cap it off, like I've done the last weekend of October every year for the last several, is the Arkansas Paranormal Expo, one of the largest paranormal expos anywhere. And that's going to be in Little Rock at the MacArthur Museum of Arkansas Military History, the weekend of October 28th and 29th. There'll be lots of speakers and vendors. I will be there both days doing a perpetual meet and greet, book signing, anybody who wants to hang out. And also I'll be giving 2 different lectures, one each day. And you can look up Arkansas Paranormal Expo on Facebook or the internet, and you can find more information there.
Awesome. That sounds like a really, really neat a thing there, and that you were talking about. Paranormal Investigator Roundtable. Hey, come on, those are always interesting.
Yeah, those are. Everybody, it works good. I participated in one of those myself. I think it was one year at Mid-South Paranormal Convention, or maybe it was Old Fort. I can't remember. You do so many of these, and they just kind of all run together in your mind, especially when you're old as the hills like I am. But yeah, the Paranormal Roundtable, I mean, you've got somebody there, moderating the discussion, asking the questions, and you have all these paranormal investigators, many of whom have had decades of experience, all sitting around the table, giving their input on evidence and different things, and having a very, very constructive conversation. Those are definitely things you want to listen to if you're into the paranormal. A lot of value there.
Absolutely. And the next time for sure, I would love to be able to go out to some of the Bell Witch, like whereabouts is the Bell Witch Cave in comparison to where the homestead is, or sorry,
Okay.
that cabin or whatever in Adams.
Okay. The Bellwitch Cave property was actually a part of the original John Bell farm.
Okay.
And as far as in relation to the Bell log cabin, the original cabin that had been brought from the other property years ago, it's probably about a quarter of a mile or half a mile. There is a sign there, Highway 41 there in Adams, that points down the road, for Bellwitch Cave. So
Okay.
you can't miss it. You can't miss it. It's right there off the main drag there. You just follow that Bellwitch Cave sign. It'll take you down. Then there's another sign, telling you where you need to turn off and go through the gate.
So it's relatively close. So okay. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if they were like pretty much close or if they were further away from each other, because I know you were saying they moved it back in the 80s. They moved it, right? That the
Yeah,
cabin
that
or whatever.
cabin.
Yeah, the cabin they moved.
And the
So
Bellwitch Cave has their own cabin too. It's a replica
oh,
cabin of John Bell home.
replica cabin. Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Now the actual
point. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying their replica cabin is not of an outbuilding, but of the actual Bell home. I don't know if it's built to scale or not. It looks like it could be. I've been in it before, but very authentic looking and does a great job of portraying what life was living on the Red River back then.
Nice. So okay, so let everyone know where they can find you, Pat. How to find you, where to look, and yeah, I mean I do have the links up in the YouTube bio and all that, but just let everyone know how they can find you, Pat.
Okay, sure. You can find me at www.patfitzhugh.com. For Bellwitch, it's www.bellwitch.org. And there is also a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I think beginnings of a TikTok presence for me as well, for Pat Fitzhugh, and for my website, which is listed under those social media platforms as the Bellwitch site.
Awesome. Um, I want to thank you for coming on. You know what, and you know what, hopefully we can work out this Halloween thing. I will definitely keep you up to date as to what's going on with that. I think that would be fun.
Oh yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun, especially, if we can get Keith in here too,
Yeah,
and we just go
yeah.
back and forth. I mean, we've talked before about giving lectures or presentations together, kind of like, the two grumpiest oldest men in the paranormal or something, something like that.
two two of
But
our favorite though, Pat. Two of our favorite.
and what, if you can possibly make it down this way again next year, and
I'm
all
looking
all
forward
the
to it.
powers that be are willing, maybe we can just maybe try to do maybe a live remote right there
I
in
would
Adam
love to.
somewhere.
I would
Can't
love to
necessarily,
do that.
yeah. I can't say for sure right now where in Adams, but I mean, it'd be a great place. I'm sure we could get a great and relevant location to do that. That would be just an awesome
Yeah,
thing to do.
I would love to do that. I really would. And like I said, I was hoping this past July when we were there we could hook up, but unfortunately everything was all planned out and it just went so quick. But next time for
Oh
sure,
yeah.
I would definitely set some time aside because I really would like to get up there and see that sort of part of Tennessee and obviously the historical aspects of the Bell Witch cabin and or the Bell family cabin and the Bell Witch cave and stuff like that. So yeah, I would love to do that, Pat. That'd be really really cool. That would be
Great. Well,
awesome.
just let me know when it's going to happen, and I'll try to set something up.
Absolutely. I will keep you in the loop. Definitely, Pat. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. And always a treat having you on and look forward to the next time.
Oh, my pleasure. I loved it. I enjoyed it. Every time we do this, we have more and more fun. And I really thank you for asking me to be on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been lovely.
You're one of our favorites, Pat. You're always welcome here.
Your check will be in the mail in the morning.
Yeah.
Right?
take
Y'all
care, my friend.
Y'all are some
Take
of
care.
my favorites too.
Well, thank you.
Awesome.
And your check will be in the mail soon too.
There you go.
Take care, my friend.
Take care. Have a
take
good night.
care. Have a good night.
Take care. Good night.
Bye.
Oh, great. Always fun having Pat on. Wealth of knowledge, especially obviously. If you're ever thinking about the Bell Witch and you want to know more, track Pat down. Pat is the guy, the go-to guy to talk about the Bell Witch. Historically, theory-wise, everything to do with the Bell Witch, I would highly recommend you track Pat Fitzhugh down.
Agreed. I'm trying to put up something on there. I want to share a video to get everybody in the mood for Halloween.
Oh, let's do it.
Hang on. Present. Oh, fuck. Okay, let's see if I can get this working because there we go.
Put it up full. Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, is this your walkthrough?
Yep.
Where's the audio? No audio?
Yeah. Did you hear the audio?
No.
Okay.
There we go.
Just to get everybody in the mood. Get everybody set up for Halloween.
So are you setting up? Getting feedback here.
Are you?
Yep.
You still getting feedback?
I don't know. Yep.
It's creepy.
Creepy. Let me see if we can this. Hold on a second.
It's almost done. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. This is what I picked up this year. I ordered it because whatchamacallit had it. But they're so expensive. I said, screw it. I'm going to find a better route. Let me just hold on.
Nice. You pick one of those up?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I picked one up. Spirit it was too expensive. I picked it up. Amazon had them from the supplier. And it was like a fraction of the cost. That's Spirit.
No doubt. Yeah,
You
no
know,
doubt. Well, I mean, Spirit's got to make their money, right? If you can get it directly from the manufacturer, fuck.
Yeah. Fuck, it's amazing the difference in price. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting things started early this year. Because normally I take 3 weeks off, but this year it's 4 weeks.
Nice.
I said, "Oh, screw it. I'm gonna take it and just fucking relax. Build. I gotta fix up a few things that I've built in the past. I gotta fix them, update them, and change a few things. And I'm looking to build like a full-fledged graveyard.
That's not too bad. That's the kind of what my old neighbors and I did with their front yard.
Yeah,
Like their whole yard, it's not very big, mind you, because it's in Toronto, but it's all like a graveyard. It's got all the tombstones and like skeletons and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. I mean that's primarily what I do too. But I kind of fray away because all the different props I have. But I mean, I don't nearly have as much as you guys as your neighbor does. But um, I think I'm going to build like literally. I built a cemetery fence, like an actual fence.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, but what I'm gonna have to fix them because for some reason they're busted. I don't know what the problem is. I gotta fix them, but I'm thinking about going all the way around, so building more on the in between my house and the neighbor's
Right.
house, sort of thing.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, looking for more skeletons. But you know what I really want? I fucking hate. I can't stand. They're cheap. They're useless. Don't buy them. They're garbage. Are those fucking styrofoam grave stones?
I know.
They're
They are.
fucking. Don't bother.
And
Don't
that's
bother.
pretty much what we have. We have pretty much all of them are like that. But I mean, you're right. They're cheap and they keep breaking. You have to fix them all the time.
Yeah.
It's annoying as hell.
So I've had my eye out. I've been able to buy a few of them, a couple of them. The ceramic tombstones.
That
Those
can't
things
be
are
cheap.
amazing. No, well, you know what? I managed to get them both on sale. They were like $25 each.
That's not too bad.
No, I mean they're outlandish. The original price was I think like $60. I'm like, fuck that. So, but I managed to get them like for like 20. I think they were like $25 each. So I'm like,
Not too bad.
that's more like it. You
Yeah,
get two for
exactly.
the price.
Because for those styrofoam ones, you're paying like almost $20 for each anyway.
Exactly. And they fucking, they bust pretty much the first time you use them.
Well, if there's a big gust of wind, if you got it out for like if
Yeah.
you prepare ahead of time and there's any significant wind, they get damaged right away.
They get damaged. Exactly. They're pain in the ass, or they fall down, or blah blah blah, whatever. And that's what I mean with the fence, right? Like I built a fence out of skid boards.
Yeah.
Right. I've got another skid that I'm going to break down and build more fencing that goes all the way around the front of the yard. So yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm glad I've got that.
I'm actually going to be able to do it this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to head down to my old neighbor's house and actually participate again this year. It's been a few years since I've been able to do it.
Well, fucking COVID, right? COVID really fucked things up.
That part of it, and having a child also hampers it.
That too.
Yeah.
That too will do it, obviously.
But this year we're bringing her down, and Lisa's going to take her for like treating in in my old neighborhood, because she'll get a shitload more candy down there than she would up here where we live now. So
see what Daddy does.
Yeah,
look what Daddy does.
That's
Daddy likes to make people. He likes to scare kids.
She'll be traumatized if she sees me doing what I do. I think she'll be scared for the rest of her life.
Oh my God, I don't like Daddy anymore. Get him away.
Yeah, exactly. Can't be doing that. She's just starting to be more affectionate now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before she was like, don't bother me. Now she's starting to be more affectionate, so it's not bad.
So, what have you felt so far this year with how fall has come in? Do you feel a little bit more, into it this year than you have in the past few years?
Starting to get there. Not quite there yet, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think today, like I said, I went for a walk earlier, and I walked around the woodlot,
Okay.
and because they didn't plant corn this year, it was just I guess soybean or whatever. But there's still stalks of corn that
Yeah.
grew in.
Hmm.
Um, but the sad reality is this could be the last year, buddy.
I know. Because you said the property got sold.
It was sold. There's been surveyors on the property, and they've got stakes in there for communication. I believe they start with communication, like phone lines and shit like that. Um, but it's going to be mixed. It's going to be residential and
Commercial.
commercial, which kind of fucking sucks because you fucking hate to see that big ass plot of land, so beautiful, just totally fucking destroyed.
I know.
I'm hoping that they leave the Sheldon that the woodlot that we investigate. I'm hoping that they keep that
They leave
intact.
it as sort of like a little. Yeah, they might.
I'm hoping.
Sorry,
I
I'm trying to
hope.
squat the stupid fucking fruit fly that keeps flying
Yeah.
around. Jesus Christ.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. That would be nice because even if they do build around it, but if they keep that, we could still go
Yeah.
in there. The only problem
Yeah.
is that now there's going to be a lot more
Wouldn't
people around.
wouldn't be the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least they keep that environment intact. I think that's the main thing, right? You keeping that environment intact. I mean, it's a sad reality. I mean that you do have the creek area that runs alongside it.
Yep.
But you have the houses on the one side, and of course the woodlot on the other. But yeah, I'm hoping they keep it, but you never know. I mean,
Yep.
you just never know. But anyways, dude, I think that's about it.
That's it. That's all she wrote.
Next Sunday night, we're our good friend Michael Esposito will be returning for the first time in a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
We're going to catch up with him about EVPs. You want to talk about somebody who is very unique in their experimentation and research of EVPs. You won't want to miss this, especially if you enjoy EVPs and that whole aspect of paranormal investigating. Michael Esposito is definitely one of the top researchers, I think, when it comes to this realm. So I'm looking forward to having him on. And like it's been a fucking long time, a
It has
long
been a
time.
long time. Yeah.
So it'll be great to catch up with him and finally. And we've got members of Snipe coming on. I
That's
told
right.
you about that, didn't I? Yeah,
Yeah, you did. You did. Yep.
We're just getting that worked out. I think October 15th. Let me just look at the calendar. Yeah, October 15th. They're slated for. They have their own TV show for the Aboriginal network here in Canada called Ghost Hunters of the Grand River. And they shot an episode. Actually, it should be. I think it's being released in October. A two-part investigation of the Spruce Lane farmhouse.
Nice.
So it'll be interesting to well, Andrew's already told me what they sort of found in there, but it'll be interesting to see how it conveys to the episode. So I'm looking forward to that. It'd be interesting to having the guys on the show too to talk about the series, before and after. But dude, I'm looking forward to it, man. Halloween. I'm looking forward to the fall. I'm looking forward to this. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in on the New Visions Radio Network. And we'll see you next Sunday night with Michael Esposito. Take care, everyone. And thank you, Pat, again for joining us this evening. Good night, everyone.
Take care. Have a good night.
Good night.